Algebra 2, this is Chapter 4, Section 8. This is the third video of 6. So let's start with, how do you solve a simple equation, one step with multiplication or division? Well, in order to solve it, you've got to multiply by its inverse. Hopefully you just figured out where I'm going with this. The inverse of 3 is 1/3, so the 3's would then cancel. 1/3 of 3 is 1, so that's 1x is equal to 12 divided by 3. Multiplying by 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3, because you put that over 1. And so x would be 4. Same thing down here. You'd multiply by your inverse to get x by itself, so we'd multiply by 4/3, which is the inverse. Multiply by 4/3 over on this side. And so the 3's would cancel, the 4's would cancel, and you get x is equal to 20/3. And if you need to reduce that, 20 goes into 3 6 times with 2 left over. Okay, so when we solve an equation, we would multiply by the inverse. So there would be no difference when we solve matrices. We're going to multiply by its inverse, which is why we learned how to find inverses in the last section, in section 7. So if you need help on that, please go back to the 4-7 videos. So first thing we need to do is write this down as its matrix. So this is a 6 and a 2 and a 3 and a -8. We've got our x and our y. And we have this as the 11 and the 1. So in order to get the x's and the y's by themselves, we need to multiply by the inverse. So we need to find the inverse of that. And then we'll multiply both sides of our equations by our inverse. So we need to remember what we did last chapter, or last section. And the inverse of A is equal to 1 over the determinant of A times, and if A was equal to A, B, C, D, right, then we flop the A and the D, so that's D and A, and these stayed the same, and you just changed the sign on them. So that was our formula. So now we've got to do that to this 6, 2, 3, -8. So moving that down, so that's going to be 1 over the determinant. 6 times -8 is a -48, minus 3 times 2, which is a 6, times. And then we're going to take our 6 and our 8, we're going to flip them. So that's going to be a -8 up here and a +6 down here. And then you're going to take the 2 and make it a -2, and the 3 and make it a -3. So let's solve that. So this is going to be 1 over -54 times -8, -2, -3, and 6. And that finally gets us to our resultant matrix. We can just leave it like that. We'll leave it right like that and deal with it that way. So let me extend my page now. So I want to take my inverse matrix and I want to multiply it by both sides. Okay, so that means I'm going to rewrite this first part right here. Oops. It really does not want to pick up. Oh, that's because it took it all as one thing. Okay, so let's just rewrite it without copying and pasting. I'll not be able to cheat. So I'm going to put my inverse matrix out front, 1 over 54 times -8, -3, -2, and 6. Multiply that by my matrix up here, that's 6, 2, 3, -8, multiplied by the x over y. And that's going to be equal to, I need to multiply the other side of my equation by the exact same thing, so that's -54 times -8, -3, -2, and 6. And the matrix that I had over there was 11 and 1. So you can see how everything we've done this chapter is coming together now. We are doing multiplication of matrices, we're doing inverse of matrices, all to try to solve this system of equations. So now we need to multiply this all together. So I'm going to multiply these second two together first. So I've got to take my 6 and my 3 and multiply it by my 8 and my negative 2. Remember, this is a 2 by 2 times a 2 by 2, so I should get a 2 by 2. And I'm just going to leave this out front for now. And actually, I really don't even need to do this because I know they're inverses, so I know this comes out to be the identity matrix. But I'll do it anyway. So 6 times 8 is negative 48. And 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6. And then 6 times 3 is going to be a negative 18. And 3 times 6 is a positive 18. And then I'm going to take my next column, so my 2 and my negative 8. So 2 times 8 is a negative 16. And 8 times 2 is going to be a plus 16. You can see how this is all falling out. 2 times 3 is a negative 6. And 8 times 6 is a negative 48. You're like, well, this isn't the identity matrix, but keep watching here for a second. So this becomes negative 1 over 54. Don't forget our little friend there. Times negative 54, 0, 0, negative 54. And when you multiply this 1 over 54 times negative 54, this is in fact our 1001. So this side all cancels and we end up with x and y on this side. Right, because the identity times xy would just give you xy. Now we need to do the other side. So this is going to be equal to the negative 1 over 54 times the negative 8, negative 2, negative 3, and 6, and the 11, 1. So I'm going to multiply my 11 and 1 times the top. I'm going to just leave this negative 1 over 54 again for a moment. I'll multiply it in when I'm done. So 11 times 8 is negative 88. This is a 2 by 2 by a 2 by 1, so my answer is going to be a 2 by 1. 1 times negative 2 is a negative 2. And then 11 times 3 is going to be a negative 33. And 1 times 6 is 6. So that's equal to 1 over 54. Do not leave your negative sign. So negative 88 minus 2 is negative 90. And negative 33 plus 6 is a negative 27. You're like, but this isn't pretty. So sorry, yes, it's not pretty. We do get ugly answers. And this is an easy way to deal with ugly answers, by the way. So we're going to put and multiply the negative 1 over 54 into that. So we know that our x, y matrix is equal to, well, negative times the negative is a positive, so that's going to be 90 over 54. And negative times a negative is positive, so that's going to be 27 over 54. And 90 over 54 reduces all the way down to 5/3. And 27 54ths reduces all the way down to 1/2. And so we end up with x is equal to 5/3 and y is equal to 1/2. And so this is the point 5/3, 1/2. Final answer.